Okay, first thing, I got my camera fixed finally. Second thing, I still have my cold. You're going to have to deal with my congestion a little bit here. Third thing, I don't know what happened to the camera. I was filming some crossbill birds in the trees, and I was moving the camera, and I must have hit a switch or something. And the thing is, I don't even know what switch I hit. But man, I was getting washed out video and then grainy video, and it was driving me crazy. So I finally just did a complete reset, and boom, here we are again. It looks good. Okay, I was reviewing the review copy of the video that really follows this one, and I realized that I jumped ahead too fast. I have a lot of experience and knowledge on these things, and I also talk to people like on the Martin Guitar Forum. I kind of hit the ground running on a conversation a lot of times, and I realized looking over the draft video, I need to explain a little bit more about what the popsicle brace is, why I sometimes take it out, why I don't take it out sometimes, what you can expect from it, that sort of thing. So I just want to spend 10 minutes here telling you about the popsicle brace. If you already know all about that, use the hot links in the description. Skip ahead to the data. Okay? The popsicle brace is a flat brace that runs right about here on the guitar. It's behind the sound hole brace. So this is a sound hole brace right here. You can see that through here. That's not the popsicle brace. Popsicle brace is on this side. It was added in about 1939 to Martin Dreadnoughts. The way you can remember this, the D28 and the D18 1937 Authentics do not have a popsicle brace. Neither do the originals. The D18 1939 and the D28 1941 both have a popsicle brace. Popsicle brace was added in about 1939 when Martin switched from the 1 3/4 inch necks to the 1 11/16 inch necks. They added the popsicle brace. Okay, so that's the history of the thing. So the early pre-wars, that is the wide necked with the wider bridge spacing, do not have popsicle braces, and neither do several others. But basically. So the reason we're interested in removing one is because those early pre-wars did not have one. What effect does it have on the sound? Why was it added in there? Those are the questions. Why was it added in? There's some discussion about that, and we really don't know. Some people say, oh, it's to prevent cracks from happening here. Okay, well, let's discuss that for a second. The only way that a crack will happen alongside the fingerboard here is if the neck block rotates forward. There's no down pressure right here because the neck is on the body at about a 2-degree angle. You actually have to push the fingerboard extension down when you glue it down there. The only way it would really put pressure is if you're in really bad need of a neck reset and the neck is tilted forward and putting pressure on there. So since Martin did not have a popsicle brace, 1934, 1935, 1936, 1937, 1938, 5 years. There's just really no way that in 5 years, all the D28s and 18s had so much pressure that they cause crack. I really don't think cracks happen in the first 5 years of the D18, D28's manufacture. So somebody somewhere decided that they needed more wood up in the upper bout. They put it in there. Okay? So the question now is, does it stop the cracks from happening? In my experience, no. Every crack Martin that I have ever seen has a popsicle brace in it. Maybe it stopped it from being worse. But I personally have never seen a Martin guitar without a popsicle brace that also had the fingerboard cracks. Okay? Take for whatever you want to take it that as. I'm just telling you my experience with this is every cracked fingerboard, every one that I've seen that fails has had a popsicle brace. I don't think it causes it. I'm just saying that the popsicle brace does not stop those cracks from happening. Maybe those cracks would be worse if it wasn't there, you know. The fact is that it does not stop it from cracking. Okay, so when it cracks, what do you do? The reason it cracks, well, I don't know why it cracks, okay? If you drop your guitar like this and it hits the butt, it's going to put a force on that neck. Whoop, you know, the neck wants to slide forward. There's a constant pulling of tension here. That's why they crack. Maybe, you know, we don't know. Maybe the heat expansion is different on the ebony fingerboard, causes that to shift back and forth. Maybe that causes cracks. We don't really know. But when it cracks, and you will start to see the result get distorted, in really bad cases, the whole thing will just, this whole piece right here would just slide forward into the sound hole. And I've repaired a few guitars like that. I can think of one triple aught or double aught 17. If the owner of that guitar is watching this, he'll remember it for sure. I worked on it a couple of times, but man, when I got that guitar the first time, it was literally falling into the body. The way you fix that is you use a trapezoidal brace, and I have a whole description of this later on in the video. Trapezoidal brace that wedges in between the neck block and the sound hole brace. So here's the neck block, and that brace wedges in here, and it keeps this from shifting. It wedges in between these two braces, and it's a wedge, not a popsicle brace. The popsicle brace does not wedge. The second problem with the popsicle brace, to get back to my brace, the trapezoidal brace, the grain runs in the same direction as the top. And you can see right away that that's stiffer. Okay, so here's the grain of the top. And it's stiff, you see? It pushes against your fingers. When the grain runs this way, it just folds up. And so what happens, Martin puts, everybody, not just Martin, puts the popsicle brace with the grain running this direction. So all it does is fold up. When you put the trapezoidal brace in there, you run the grain in the same direction as the top, and it acts like a physical brace between that neck block and the sound hole brace. That's how you stop it. That's how you fix the crack and string the guitar back up. So when I take a popsicle brace out, I put the trapezoidal brace back on. More modern Martins have an L-shaped neck block. So once again, there's a neck block and there's a truss rod cover at the top of it. It's L-shaped. I like that. I leave it in because it's glued in up here, and that keeps this from happening. It's not as good as it could be, you know, if it was a solid glued brace, but it's pretty good. I do not remove that truss rod cover. I leave it in there. So that's a good brace. Okay, so when I take a brace out, popsicle brace out, I put my brace back in. I am basically prefixing the guitar. Now, one question I have is what effect on the sound does my brace have? So we're going to look at that at the end of the video, where I compare the sound and frequency spectrum analysis of this guitar with the popsicle brace in, with my brace in, and with the popsicle brace completely out. So obviously, I did that analysis when I had the popsicle brace completely out. We'll see what difference it makes. Does my brace actually hinder the sound of it or not? It's a good question, but we'll find that out. Okay. Okay, so let's see. We got the popsicle brace. We got the function of it. Why do I take it out? Because I have evidence in this video and the sound of the thing that the removal of the popsicle brace allows the upper bout of the body to vibrate. The reason it does that, yes, the strings are connected down here to the bridge. This is where the majority of your vibration occurs, but not all of it. So how much of it? Well, we don't know, 90%, 80%. People throw these numbers out. They don't have any evidence. Let's just say 90%. That's great. What if you want the other 10%? What if you want the little extra thing that removal of the popsicle brace gives you? Again, my evidence that I've gathered, that other people agree with, shows that removal of the popsicle brace will enhance the trebles from the open B string up. And we can hypothesize that. I want to say prove that, but that's too strong of a word. We can show that by looking at clandy plate vibrations, and we find out that at the vibration of that open B string, at that frequency, the top plate starts vibrating right here where the popsicle brace is. So if you stuff a piece of wood in there, you're going to kill those vibrations. So when I remove it, what I'm trying to do is get more treble. I'm trying to get those higher frequencies, which I'm particularly susceptible to having a high frequency hearing loss. When I get more high frequencies, I hear them. You see, it's the advantage of having a hearing loss. I liken it to driving down taking your stereo and turning full blast, and you turn the graphic EQ up full blast. Everything's going so loud that you can't tell if you turn your graphic EQ up and down because it's already so loud. But if you turn it down to the minimum level to where you can just barely hear it, and then you tweak certain frequencies, you go, oh yeah, there it is. I hear it all of a sudden, you see? So when you're having trouble hearing those frequencies and you get a little bit of a boost in it, you hear it. You're more sensitive to it. I guarantee it. I've spent a lot of time in the audiologist's office with a willing audiologist who's willing to play with me a little bit, and I am extremely sensitive to changes in frequencies. I might not hear them as well as you do, but I'm very sensitive to changes. When I hear a change in the highs, man, I pick it up fast. So I'm after the open B on up, and that's what I'm going to show you in the frequency spectrum analysis. You will see a boost in those upper partials. Even if you can't hear them, you can feel them. And the science of sound is really strange. For instance, if you go up to the low E on a piano and you hit that note, you swear you hear it, but your ears are actually physically not capable of hearing that low note. What happens is you hear enough of the upper partials that you can hear, and your brain fills in the missing information and says, okay, you can hear that. But your ears can actually physically not hear the lowest note on a piano. The same is true on the guitars. When you get a filling in of upper partials, you might not be able to actually physically hear them, but your brain picks up enough of the information to say, okay, there's more up there. And especially as you get adapted to it and you get used to it, your brain starts filling in pieces of information. Okay, so I'm trying to keep it short, but there's just so much information that goes behind this. So that's the popsicle brace. That's why I take it out. I put my brace in there on the 70s. If a customer has any questions, qualms, hesitations about the popsicle brace, I refuse to take it out. I do not push it. It's an option for those people looking for the most sound they can get out of their guitar. It does not add that much. It's not. I have never, ever said it's this groundbreaking, earth-shattering change that is a game changer. I'm trying to use all the fancy adjectives that I can. I have never said that. At most, I've said it adds a very subtle flavor that you may or may not appreciate. To me, I describe the sound as a little bit more air to the tone. It's a stringy, open sound to it. And man, I got criticized so bad for that one time on one guitar forum. I said that, and somebody said, "Oh, that's it, I'm out of here." Well, fine, you know? It's an auditory thing that I'm trying to describe in a verbal manner. And I'm just doing the best I could, is to say, that's what it sounds like to me. I've heard guitars that are congested like me, compressed. And then there's guitars that you hear that are just, you know, airy. That's the only way I can describe it. It's airy. It's fine. You know? It's a 2 decibel boost at 6K. That's the technical word. What does that mean to you as a player? Airy. More open. More spacious. More clarity. You know? That's what I hear. Very slight. It's just a little. It's like the guitar always has fresh strings on it. You know, what do fresh strings sound like? Huh? You know, to some people, the fresh strings sound brassy or clangy or metallic. To some people on some guitars, fresh strings sound airy. They must sound like something, or people wouldn't change their strings all the time, and that's the most common question I get. What kind of strings does it have? Well, it must have some sort of effect, or you wouldn't be asking me that question. So, the Popsicle brace removal has in my humble opinion, experience, having removed like 300 of them, has a slight effect. On a D35, where it typically is a bassy, muddy sounding guitar, I'm looking for clarity. I don't want to lose it. I can't lose the inherent bassiness because that's what the braces produce. But I'm always looking for a little more clarity, openness, less mud. And the Popsicle brace is an integral part of that. So is opening the sound hole if you want to go even further. I don't push either one of those. If a guy says I want the brightest, cleanest, most trebly sounding D35 I can get, these are the tricks I use to get there. Okay. I've talked too much already, and it's hard to talk, okay? But I wanted to add this to the beginning of this video so that you know what the Popsicle brace is, why I sometimes remove it, why you would not want to remove it, what sort of effect should you expect, and is it really worth it? I mean, if it was so great, then Martin would just leave it out of all their guitars. No, they wouldn't, because they're worried about warranty, and I don't think a manufacturer like that actually is concerned about the sound first and foremost. If they were, they'd be tapping tops and they would be doing testing stiffnesses like small builders do. Okay? So, no, that's an invalid argument. I have tremendous respect for Martin, don't get me wrong. If I was Chris Martin, I would probably be more conservative than he is, you know? I would release a guitar called the Hot Rodder Special, and it would be non-scalloped, you know, have a Popsicle brace in there. It would be so stiff and tight, and I would tell you, here's your guitar, and you can go modify it, but the warranty's invalid, you know. That's what I would do. So I have tremendous respect for Martin and the decisions, the difficult decisions that they have to make as a large manufacturer. That's why I don't scallop D35s, you know, as a repair guy, I do not want to be responsible for your D35 when it bellies up because I scalloped it. So I just won't do it. There's certain things I won't do because I don't want to be responsible for that in a warranty sense of the word. But removing the popsicle brace and putting my brace in there, I feel is a very valid risk. I don't have any issues. I have never, ever had an issue doing it when I put my brace back in there. And like I said at the very beginning of this thing, that's how I fix guitars that have cracks. I put a trapezoidal brace in there. All right, we're done. I'm going to now start the proper part of this video. Some of this information will be repeated. Sorry, use the description, skip ahead, go to the parts you want to see. It baffles me that people want less information than more information. Filter out the stuff you don't want. Sometime when you want to come back and you want more information, it's here. Okay? See you later. Right, hello. We're gonna do a video I've had a lot of requests for. I put off doing this one for a long time because it's going to be fairly difficult to film. There's a lot going inside the guitar in this tight space right here. I've used this GoPro before. This is an old Session 5. I still have my cold, okay? So don't make any snide comments about my voice. It's hard for me to talk right now. So you make a snide comment about my voice, I cut you off. I don't care, This is a Session 5 GoPro. I've used this before inside the guitar. It works pretty good. I'm using a GoPro Hero 8 here. The biggest problem with the GoPros is you can't monitor what you're doing. So you got to kind of shoot blind here. You can monitor from behind the camera, but not in front of it. I don't have the Hero 10, which costs a lot of money and has a screen on the front. So anyway, doing the best we can do here. I'm also going to do something a little bit different here. I'm going to use a frequency spectrum analyzer. It's just running on iPad, so it's not fancy. But when we get to that section, I'll talk about it a little bit. But I'm going to test the analyzer. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to compare two different guitars. I compared this D35 a minute ago before I did anything to it. And I also did a couple of frequencies of the D2841 Authentic, which is kind of my standard. We can compare those two to see if you can even tell the difference between the two guitars. And the third thing I did is I took the Telecaster, put it on the bridge pickup, which is bright, and I rolled the treble all the way off, hit the D string, hit the high E string, turned the treble all the way up, did those two strings again. That is a known effect. Rolling your tone pot back and forth is a known mechanical thing. Question is, can the iPad measure that? And it did. I think it's pretty clear. I'll have the graphs and the frequency spectrograms and all that technical stuff later. I'm trying to get as scientific as I can on this, given my limited resources. For those of you that don't know, I have a master's in science. I have a master's degree in biology. I worked for 4 years as a statistician for a team of PhDs. So, I kind of know what I'm doing here. At least I know the hypothesis and the theory and the logic behind it. Is just whether or not you can actually replicate things. Great paper on pseudo-replication that everybody has to read at one time as to whether or not you're truly replicating. It's very difficult to do. However, we're doing it by the seat of our pants. We're using as many things as we can. We're using our ears. We're using our feel. We're using a couple of measurements, the best we can do. We're doing the best we can here, okay? So, it's better than nothing. If you don't like the video, you can stop right now and go home. Anyway. I'm cranky when I'm sick. All right, so here's the tools we're going to use. We're going to take a popsicle brace out. Did I ever say that? what we're doing here is we're going to take the Popsicle brace out of this guitar. You'll get a look at it when we go inside with the GoPro, but it's a thin brace that runs right here. Real quickly. Yes, most of the vibrations come from back here, behind the bridge. But my hypothesis is that there's a lot of vibrations up here in the upper body of the body, and they come from vibrations that are transmitted down the neck. So the more you get that neck to vibrate, the more important having that Popsicle brace out becomes. I've got some stuff on my website. I try to remember to put a link in the comments. You can go look at that. I've been doing Popsicle braces for 22 years. I've got various kinds of top tapping things. Okay, so let's do this, and then let's take a look at the data, and then we'll discuss what happened. If anything happened. Maybe nothing happened. Okay, the tools that I used to do this, a couple chisels. That's the big chisel. These are just straight 1/4-inch chisels. It's no big deal. I do have the handle, cut off on this one, so it's easy to get in there at an angle. I use this bent 1/4-inch chisel. It reminds me of a swan. So the swan chisel. This one's really good for reaching in right there and getting it started, as you'll see. I use this one, which is the opposite of this one. I don't know what this one is. A backwards looking swan. I use this one to reach up here and pull back. I don't use that one so much. I use it to scrape quite a bit. It's just whatever, And then this is a bigger scraper. 1-inch chisel. Do all that. Got a light. Got a mirror in there. We're going to put the mirror in there. We're going to go to it. I'm probably not going to show you all the Popsicle brace because it's a tedious process. I'm going to show you part of it. Okay, and then you can get the principle from there. One other thing. When I take the Popsicle brace out, I put a trapezoid brace in here, which will show. I think I'm going to do this fully. So we're going to go record it without anything in there at all. The guitar's not going to blow up, I just put my trapezoid brace in there because that's how you fix cracks when they happen. Every crack I have ever seen, cracks along the fingerboard here, has been on a guitar with a Popsicle brace. They don't do the job they're supposed to do. And when you really need to fix them, you get a brace like this, and it sits right here. This one's wrong because I cut the grain the wrong way. The grain should run the same as the top so that it's stiffer. See, this one will fold. But this is my template. See it? Don't copy this one. The grain should run the other way. I screwed up when I made this, and I said, well, I need a template. Anyways, this goes like this. The points here basically go to the fingerboard, and this is wedged in between the neck block and the sound hole brace, which is the big brace right here. The only way that this can crack is if that neck block rotates, and it will rotate if the guitar is dropped on its end. Oh, the mirror. Yeah. If the guitar is dropped on its end or some other shift makes that thing hit. The way you really fix those, when you get a crack like that, you'll see it cracking up here on the rosette. You'll see cracks alongside the fingerboard. You'll take the neck off. You'll see the cracks. You put this brace in there. And that's how you fix a failed Popsicle brace. So when I put this brace in there, what I'm really doing is prefixing it. But there's a lot of guitars that don't even have a Popsicle brace at all. They don't have that brace. All of the pre-war, the 37s, prior to 1939, 38, I don't remember the exact year, don't have a Popsicle brace. So your D28 1937 Authentic does not have a Popsicle brace in it. A Collings Winfield, Collings Clarence White does not have a Popsicle brace in it. Bourgeois guitars do not have Popsicle braces on it. There's another Martin that doesn't have a Popsicle brace. The Golden Era, the very first Golden Era, which was 95, it's a D18. It's not called the Golden Era. Maybe it's called the Golden Era. It's a Sitka top. The It's one of the first one of those like that. It does not have a popsicle brace in it. Lots of guitars and millions of small makers don't have popsicle braces in them. So lots of guys build them like that. Most people don't build them any different than they build their normal guitars. Pre-war Martins that don't have it have a little bit wider neck block. Just a little bit wider. Might help prevent that rotation. It might not. Anyways, I put this brace in here when I took your popsicle brace out because I don't want you to have any problems down the road, whatever. But I think to do a really good fair test on this, I think we should record it with nothing in there. And then I'll come back again. I'll put my brace in there and glue it up. And then we'll re-record it again. So we'll have a recording and a frequency spectrum analysis of popsicle brace, my brace, and no popsicle brace at all. And let's see if there's any differences. Okay? Let's get to work on this. I'm going to pop this GoPro in here. I'm going to leave this one running so that I can splice the footage back and forth because sometimes this doesn't pick up my voice really great. So we're going to turn this on. And we are going to film GoPro to GoPro. GoPro to GoPro. There we go. Hello, little GoPros. Basically what I do is take these short chisels and I use this edge like this, like a scraper. And reach in there and kind of pry that popsicle brace off. So. If you get lucky on this, you can grab that wood and you can split it and it'll shoot clear across the popsicle brace and you can pull it off in chunks. That's what I'm trying to do here. It's hard to do because the stupid GoPro's in the way. So it's hard to do. I can't get my usual angle on this, and I know you guys some of you guys are going to be so critical. Oh, he's doing it wrong. Can't he do it this way? The GoPro's in the way. Okay. So I'm not able to get the angle I want here, and this is difficult. This GoPro. Yeah, it's going decent. This is all about feel too. This is the top of the guitar. I have wet these braces before. I don't like that. It makes your spruce real rubbery, and it doesn't tend to split it the way I want it to. This is kind of messy at first, you know, when you see this camera in here. It's a little bit of a messy approach, but that's okay. I just want to get the bulk of that popsicle brace off, and then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to scrape it, and I'm going to sand it, and I'm going to clean it. Don't panic. Getting a good video here. But I'm just going to show you here how I use this tool. Reach in over here. Guys. It's hard to do. I can't get my usual angle on this, and I know you guys some of you guys are gonna be so critical. Oh, he's doing it wrong. Can't he do it this way? The GoPro's in the way. Okay, so I'm not able to get the angle I want here, and this is difficult. Move this GoPro around a little bit more. Everybody's a critic. I have noticed since doing videos, watching other people's videos, everybody is so critical till they try to do it themselves. I moved the GoPro over to the side. Maybe that will get a better angle. Maybe that angle's fine when I can get my hand in here. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to use this one. Of course, it's blocking the flashlight a little bit now, but... And this is kind of messy at first, you know, when you see this camera in here. It's a little bit of a messy approach, but that's okay. I just want to get the bulk of that popsicle brush off, and then I'm going to come back in, I'm going to scrape it, and I'm going to sand it, and I'm going to clean it. So don't panic. Now you can see, in the other camera, you can see these ridges right here. That's where the chiseled edge is kind of making an indentation in there. I could wrap this with tape or something, but then you lose all your leverage. Then you've got a soft thing right there. And it's not making very deep indentations, and I'm just going to go in the sandpaper and smooth those off when I get done. The brace is a little bit bigger than a pre-war anyways, so I've got a little bit to work with, you know. So I pulled off a nice chunk right there. Where it caught the popsicle brush and then splintered across. And this one's really dry. It's making it easier on me. Nice. It's a nice, dry, brittle popsicle brush. I have noticed quite a difference in the spruce in the popsicle brushes over the years. These 70s will have really beautiful grained popsicle brushes that'll just, you know, sometimes you can catch them. Sometimes you can pull the whole length of the brace out. Then when they get into the more modern stuff, it's just a squirrely, awful grain that doesn't splinter at all. And you gotta pull it out splinter by splinter, you know. I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to do the brace, and I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like at different stages. I had a little bit of a video earlier from inside the guitar where I was, you know, sanding it like this. That's not how I do it. In case you ever do this yourself or whatever. I bring the guitar up like this and actually rotate it back towards me. Take a sanding block like that. It's no big deal. And then I have just regular sandpaper that's backed with tape to make it more durable. And I do it like this. First of all, get the splinters out of the way. And this is just so much easier on my hands than the way I was trying to film it. You just come in here, and I'm going across the grain, but I'm not using much pressure. I'm just trying to smooth off anything. And I also don't try to sand every last trace of popsicle brace off because I don't want to sand into the top any. And I don't care if there's a little bit of a blue pencil line, you know, evidence that the popsicle brace is there. I don't care about that. I'm not trying to make it look like it came from the factory. Although it'll look pretty good. Those are a lot better. I got grinds. You guys might have seen these sitting on my bench before. They're the coffee. The pouches, man, those things are so good. I should endorse them. This is the espresso grinds. It's a double shot of espresso. And it really keeps my throat lubricated. I sound like I'm endorsing them. I do endorse them. They're good stuff. I use them when I ride my dirt bikes and when I ski and mountain bikes because they keep the throat going, keep the dust off, that kind of thing. Good stuff. Grinds. Come in a lot of flavors. I'm just talking, okay? They come in a lot of flavors. I like the espresso, the mocha, chocolate mint. This is my big three. And then there's orange citrus that's really good. Oh, man, that's hard on your fingers. I use this one to sand that brace. And again, I just cup it with my fingers here and just kind of lightly sand that brace where I was pressing the chisel into it. Just clean it up a little bit. We'll take another shot. Really didn't put that big of a dent in it. I mean, it looks bad when you're looking at it in the camera and you're hypercritical about these things. But in real life, not a big deal. You'll get those out pretty easy. Back up here. Another thing you can do with sandpaper, besides sandpaper, come over and get my little array of busted up razor blades, and then these little scrapers are really good too. Although, man, they're tough on your fingers. You gotta pull them like this, you know, man, that thumb, that's brutal. That's what that 1-inch chisel's for. It's good for this, but this is good for fine touching. You can go with the grain with these. Ah. Cold makes me a little dehydrated, you know, so Cold makes me a little dehydrated and more, you know, susceptible to muscle cramps like that. Gosh, that hurt. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Let's get all the chips out of the way. I gotta look first. That's not bad. You know, you can see the sand, the sawdust in there. It's pretty good. There's a little thing up there. Get that out of the way. Yeah. There's a flake of wood. I'll get that out of there. Looks good. Sawdust floating around. And I use this one here too. I'm going to clean up this spot right here. I want it really clean where I'm going to glue that brace on. So I'm going to make sure that straight's nice and clean. Real light pressure. Nothing much on that. Yeah, even though I can see evidence, the chisel is scooting across there really nicely. So I know there's no glue. It's nice and clean. Okay. I'm going to take this, just wipe off some of that sawdust in there so it'll look pretty. And I'll show it to you. This was about an average one. Some of them come out a little bit cleaner. Some of them are a little bit dirtier. But I'll show you the honest truth here. This is what we got. Okay, so honestly, that's what it looks like. You can see a little bit of a mark right there where the chisel dug in. I could sand that down some more, but I'm not gonna, probably. And this side's all right. You know, I might clean that up just a little bit more before I get finished. Let's flip the GoPro over and go in for a dive. All right, I probably will clean that up a little bit more. I'll use a little bit more sanding, but you got the principle of it. Sorry about that. I forget I'm moving the camera, you know. I will come back in and clean that up just a little bit more. But again, you got the idea of how it works. And again, I don't want to sand into the topmost, so I'm just going to smooth it up a little bit more, make it look a little bit prettier. Who goes looking at the inside of a guitar? But, you know, my name is on that plate, and it'll look a little bit prettier when I get done. All right, we're going to string it up, and we're going to try it and see what it sounds like with no popsicle brace. So we'll be back. Okay, first of all, I forgot to re-record this guitar before I pulled the popsicle brace. I like to always record it again on the same day. I forgot to do that. So we're going to have to use the previous recording. But that doesn't matter to me because you ought to be able to hear some differences. And if you can't hear any difference, you're going to look at the frequency analysis anyways, okay? Because there's things that might not be caught on the microphone. I don't know. We just got to do what we got to do, okay? So here we are with the modified guitar. we're going to have a quick lesson in how to read the frequency analyzer. And you can see that it's cranking away on my voice right now. But what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to the Telecaster so that I can control the tone. So here's what the Telecaster sounds like on an open D string with the tone rolled all the way off. Okay, what you want to notice here is this is the fundamental, and this is the next harmonic, the next harmonic, the next harmonic, and so forth. Ignore, for the purposes of the popsicle brace test, ignore the length of this because that's just the sustain. And in order for me to get 6 notes on the screen, I'll have to cut the sustain a little bit. And that's not a factor really anyways. What we're doing is looking at the volumes here. Watch what happens now as I turn the volume up on my tone knob, or my volume knob. There you go. Compare that now. That's more volume. See, there's more stuff going on down here, and there's more up there. Well, a lot of what you're seeing here is the tube amp distortion. Okay? But you can still see fundamental, next one, next one, next one, next one. The volume really didn't add anything in there. You can still see it. It's just a little bit bolder, but you got more stuff around it. That's distortion. Okay, now watch what happens as I manipulate the tone knob, because that's what we're really after. The tone knob on a Telecaster, obviously, is a mechanical device which we know is going to give us more trouble. And we want to see if this iPad and this software can detect that change in a known tone shift. Tone is all the way off right now. I'm going to the high E because it's a clearer note. Tone's going up. All right. I hit it twice so that we could get a replicated sample. So this is the same thing right here. This is the high E with the tone all the way off, and you can see that they're similar. They're similar enough that you can compare them. The only variance is how long I let that note sustain for. So that's width is a sustain. We don't care about that so much. What we notice here is these upper harmonic partials. And then as I rolled the tone knob all the way up to increase the treble, we saw a definite increase in those. And they're similar enough that we can compare them. Okay? So that's a quick review of how to read the frequency analyzer. And the iPad and this cheap software is capable of detecting a known mechanical change right there. Alrighty? Well, that was a long video. You know, maybe that's why I've been putting it off for so long, actually doing the Popsicle brace video, because I know it just has a lot of information. I'm trying to make a case here. I'm not trying to make a case. I'm trying to demonstrate why I do what I do. So I'm making a case for my actions. I'm not making a case for the Popsicle brace. I don't care, I don't care if the Popsicle brace lives in there or not. I'm just making a case as to why I will take one out. So, it's a lot of information. What did we learn from this? What we saw quickly, I think when you look at the frequency analysis things, you can clearly see that removing the Popsicle brace gave it more upper partials. That was pretty clear. And I've demonstrated it before. It's on my website. I demonstrated it 15 years ago. Before I was doing videos, I did the website. And I did the same sort of thing, and I demonstrated it. And I have just story after story after story after story of people who own guitars. They play them for a long time, so everybody's used to them. I take the Popsicle brace out, and the band members or their wife or somebody says, "Did you get a new guitar?" Just stories like that, I got lots of information. So, to me, taking the Popsicle brace out absolutely has an effect on the sound. How much of an effect? Depends on the guitar. Depends on you. Depends on how you play. Depends on whether you use a pick or not. The pick will bring out different tones than using your fingers will. So there's variables, So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from it. I just hope you learned something from it. That's all. Okay? Man, it's been a long journey on these D35s. I got maybe a slight action tweak to make on this one, and then it's gone. I've enjoyed working on them. It's always fun when I get 2 or 3 of the same guitar in. That's always fun. So, all right. See you later. Maybe I'll get over this cold.